What's up, YouTube? So I'm up here off of Coastline Drive. It's basically like a bluff where a bunch of houses are built overlooking the ocean to my left, to your left, and now behind us. Right below us is Pacific Coast Highway, below us and behind us. And there's a restaurant called Mastro's. It's a really nice steakhouse. So I just dropped off a bunch of gravel to this job site in Burlap. One of my subscribers actually reached out and was wondering if I could drive through the area. So that's what I'm doing. You can see those hills back there in the distance. They're all scorched. Everything was on fire. It amazes me how some of these houses didn't get burned. If you look to the right, I'm not sure if you can see, but the ocean is over to the right. And it's a wonderful place to live. It's a beautiful community. Well, it was, but and I'm sure it will be in the future, but it's going to take some time. So the contractor that I was talking to is getting paid by the homeowner, or the insurance company, I suppose, to remove all of the debris from the property. So that's what they're doing. Before they were allowed to start removing debris, they had to prove to the city that the property didn't contain any hazardous materials like asbestos or anything like that. So they had to take a bunch of soil samples, multiple soil samples, and send them in. Now, if the property did have asbestos or any type of hazardous contaminants on the property, the homeowner or insurance company would have had to hire a different type of company that specializes in hazardous waste removal. And then once they remove all of the hazardous waste and debris, whatever, then they have to take soil samples again and prove that the property is free of any hazardous materials. That the contractor had mentioned to me that I hadn't taken into consideration, and I think most people might not fully understand or be aware of. I wasn't. He had said that there's a lot of homeowners who are having their property cleared of debris by the Army Corps of Engineers. You can see how spectacular the view is from up here. But anyways, going back to what I was talking about. Some of these homeowners are getting their properties picked up by the Army And this contractor has dealt with fires in the past in Ventura and the Woolsey fire and the Thomas fire and whatnot. And he said that some of these homeowners might be under the impression that debris removal from the Army is quote unquote free. It is free unless or until the Army finds out that you had sufficient insurance coverage. If the Army finds out that you had enough insurance coverage to pick up the debris, the Army's going to be looking for a check. Now, initially I kind of found that hard to believe. But then again, you know, when you think about it, it's not really fair that the American taxpayer has to flip the bill to pick up the remains of your property if you had sufficient insurance coverage. So that kind of makes sense. But I'm not sure if homeowners are aware of that. And if they aren't, they will be when the Army reaches out to them asking for a paycheck or for a check. They're going to be blindsided by that. That's for sure. So if you're a homeowner watching and you haven't yet had the debris removed from your property, and you want the Army to, you know, you opted into the Army removing the debris, it might be in your best interest to talk to someone about that and figure out whether or not what I just said is really true, because I don't really know. I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, that kind of makes sense to me, though. Like, why should I have to pay? Why should my tax dollars have to pay to pick up your property? Especially if you had insurance money, or if you had, you know, sufficient insurance to pick up the mess. So just something to keep in mind, I suppose. I'm sure in time everything will get sorted out, but and that's really just one more nightmare, one more problem to worry about. It's looking like the majority of this neighborhood is gone. But you know, the property or the land is really where all the money's at. It's a beautiful location. Like, my grandmother sold real estate for many years in Los Angeles, and I remember her being, you know, on the bus stops throughout Los Angeles. Susanna Desbro, Paramount Properties, you know, #1 realtor or whatever, and she had trophies and awards for selling hundreds of millions of dollars worth of properties back in the 90s and even 80s probably before that. And she would always say location, location, location. So, and she's right. It's a beautiful location. It's definitely going to be an interesting couple of years to see how this debacle all unfolds. Especially hearing about how State Farm the other day was approved by the insurance commissioner in California for a 22% rate increase. So it looks like 1 million State Farm customers in California are going to be getting their insurance premium going up. I'm not sure if everyone's going to be 22%, some are going to be 8%, some are going to be 30%, I'm not sure. But I think just in general, it's going to be 22% increase on 1 million policies. Which basically means every single house up here that is insured by State Farm, or was insured by State Farm, if they even continue to insure these properties, it looks like their premiums are going up. If they choose to stay, which is another question that nobody really knows. And now, with State Farm getting their approval, the 22% insurance, increase approval, how many more other companies are going to reach out to Ricardo Laura, the California Insurance Commissioner, and ask for a handout, a 22% rate increase handout? Every single one of them is going to. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? You'd be a fool to not. And if for whatever reason Ricardo Laura chooses to refuse the rate increase to other insurance companies, I'm sure those insurance companies will be serving Ricardo Laura and the state a lawsuit. Because how's that fair? State Farm gets to raise prices by 22%, but I can't? How's that fair? Wonder if Ricardo Laura's got, money invested in State Farm. Who knows? We'll see what happens. We'll see. So obviously these people over here to the right, they probably had hazardous material on their property. That's why those dudes are all suited up. And they're bagging everything up into tiny little bags. So I just wanted to do a quick little drive through the neighborhood so you guys could see what it looks like above Pacific Coast Highway in this little, it's a beautiful little neighborhood. It's off of Coastline Drive. So you take PCH and you go up the hill on Coastline Drive, and all these beautiful houses overlook the ocean right here. So I got a couple of big jobs up here too. So I'll be back. But I think that's going to be enough for today, because I have a lot of work to do. I gotta go, actually I'm basically done. I just have to go back to the steel yard and pick up a bunch of rebar from the steel yard on my way back. So that's what I gotta do. right, guys. Well, until next time, all right? Thanks so much.